Good evening and welcome to Press Play. Happy Juneteenth. I'm your host, Cedric Fisher. We'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Press Play. Press Play is a broadcast from Black Book Studios, which is a division of Black Video News Network. For those of you who don't know us, you could find us at blacksinsanantonio.com, our nonprofit, blackbookstudios.org, or blackvideonews.com. And you can find this show on YouTube at Black Video Network, all one word, no spaces. It has been a doozy of a week, hasn't it? As I always say, it's no picnic to be Black in America, but our stuff is on the table right now. It's a beautiful thing. People are discussing it. And before we talk about some of the racism issues and race-related issues that are going on, let's remember COVID-19 now is in its second phase. And we want to encourage and remind you all to protect yourselves, be cautious, careful. This disease is disproportionately impacting our community. And we want to make sure that we're safe and just doing the right thing. Do your social distancing piece, shelter at home when you can, self-isolation, but carry on with your life. We are actually here in the Black Book Studios offices, and we've got our social distancing piece here. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is a divider here up because I've got a special guest we're going to talk about in a minute. But we try and do that here. So we encourage wearing your mask, washing your hands, all the good stuff to protect us from COVID. They say it's in its second phase, and the strain could be a lot worse this time than it was the very first time around. Okay, switching reels. Let's talk about the big white elephant in the middle of the globe, racism. Yes, indeed. Again, the racism thing is on the table. We have had the privilege here of sort of being the information central for the African American community. All things that happen in this community sort of go through us. We've heard from, this week alone, we've talked to major corporations, and I'm talking about at the CEO level, all folks who are trying to figure out how to respond to the racism topic. We've talked to clergy, politicians have come to visit us, you name it. All these folks are looking for us for not only influence, but really just some intellectual advice, some intelligence about how to respond in a genuine, sincere way, and not just in optics and imaging like a Band-Aid approach. They really want to come up with some programming, effective stuff that will really work for the African American community long term. For those of you who may not know us very well, the company's been around for 10 years. The broadcast has been happening for a multitude of different years. There are over 500,000 African Americans in Central Texas, and that means Bexar County, but also extends to Travis County. That's right. 500,000 of us and more. All right, we've got research and data that shows that that many of us exist here in Central Texas. And we have, by default or design of Carl Booker, who you guys know, the chairman and CEO, we've become the voice for the broader African American community here in Central Texas. So with that, again, a lot of folks have been reaching out and consulting with us for how to respond to the big issue of racism. So you got two topics that are happening right now in that regard. Of course, we've had this string and pattern of casualties, killings that were unjustified that led up to this moment. So you got the issue of police reform or criminal justice reform, and then you have racism. Two separate things, but very much related. And we've been talking about that with the folks that have sat down with us this week. And of course, here on this show, the past 4 or 5 weeks, we've talked about COVID, but recently, this is the topic that everybody wants to hear about. So with that, last week and this week, we have brought on some subject matter experts people who are well accomplished and also happen to be black, but really understand the race thing as it goes. And tonight's special guest is a good friend of mine who is highly accomplished. I mean, just every degree in the book. Real special gentleman by the name of Dr. D. Anthony Miles. Dr. D. Anthony Miles, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Press Play.
Thank you.
Let me share a little bit about his background and before we ask him some questions. So he's an entrepreneur, owns a consulting and a construction company. It's international, quite honestly. So he's got projects around the globe. Award-winning researcher, award-winning professor, statistician, legal expert, witness, and best-selling author. If that ain't enough, he's been featured nationally on syndicated media outlets such as ABC News, CBS, Fox News, NBC, Huffington Post, Forbes, Reader's Digest, Bloomberg Radio, Blog Talk Radio, WGN Radio in Chicago, iHeart Radio, YouTube, iTunes, TuneIn, and a number of others. He's the CEO and founder of Miles Development Industries Corporation, a consulting practice and venture capital firm. Mr. Miles, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
What a background.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Good. So our viewing audience is obviously we're going to talk about the racism piece, but
yes,
tell us. I shared a lot about your background, but share a little bit more about where you're from and that sort of stuff.
All righty. Born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. Went to Sam Houston High School. Graduated from UTSA. Graduated from Our Lady of the Lake. Graduated from University in Incarnate Word. I lived in Mexico for 6 months. Presented at Stanford University. I've been invited to Harvard University by the Harvard Business School. My book was the basis of my doctoral work. I did a study on 500 plus small businesses, and I looked at risk patterns, and I won a fellowship. They flew me to Anaheim, California. Some about my family. My grandfather was the celebrity in the family, John Muir Miles. He got invited to the White House.
Okay.
To Obama's inaugural inaugural presidency party.
And he played in the Negro
He
baseball
played in the Negro
leagues.
Baseball League, right.
Okay.
My father set a record at St. Mary's University, Winston Miles. Robert Reed at Houston Rockets broke my dad's scoring record. My little brother had a trial with the Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys. My little brother's 6'10" with muscles.
Okay.
So I'm kind of the disappointment.
What a family.
Yes.
There's a lot of competition in the house.
You know my cousin Cleophas.
Okay.
You had him on the show. But
yeah.
basically, come from a pretty good family. I got a couple of whoopings I probably didn't need. My dad made me put myself through college to build my character. Yeah. And that's the result of that. And I just am blessed to be here talking with you. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, those whippings seem to work out then, man. They help you get through all those tough years of college.
I think I got a couple of ones that could have been avoided.
Okay. So tell us about your current work. What are the projects and how is your work? Just describe it to the viewing.
I've been getting government contracts. I'm working on getting government contracts in my business. I'm a statistician. I'm a 13-time winner for my research and statistics.
Okay.
I've been doing that. I've been doing my consulting work with the venture capital side. Been doing some work. I was supposed to get my work showcased in Forbes, and they nixed it about some research that we were doing on Shark Tank with venture capital and that type of thing. And I got 2 new books coming out on side of my work, so I'll probably come back on the show, talk about my 2 books or one of the books.
You want to tell us about them now? Or?
I'll give you the first one. The other one's kind of shaky. It's called How to Get Away with Murder Marketing.
Nice.
Forensic marketing. And definitely going to bless you with a copy.
And you have how many books currently in rotation?
I have 2 books out.
2 other books?
2 books out, yeah. Okay. One of my books was picked up for to be used in the MBA program on entrepreneurship.
Right.
That's what I got my PhD in, is in entrepreneurship. So I'm a startup and marketing expert.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Racism. We go back a lot of years, and we
Absolutely.
always get to that topic. So, most African Americans do,
Yes, sir.
particularly the professionals,
Yes, sir.
because we experience it a lot different than maybe the larger community does
Absolutely.
at the professional level. So let's talk about racism and marketing.
Okay.
And you shared with me before the show that you've done some real work in this regard. Just kind of tell us about that and how Black men, racism, and marketing have gotten together over the years.
Oh, absolutely. The basis of some of the research that me and my research team have been working on is called Black marketing, and it's primarily used as a weaponization of social media. And there's three facets of Black marketing. One is the first facet is weaponizing social media. The second facet of that is disinformation and misinformation. And the third facet of that is brand damage or reputation damage. So let me give an example of that. Some of the high profile cases, like the Trayvon Martin case or the Sandra Bland case, well, what the police departments were doing was taking the person's background and putting misinformation or putting bad information out in the media about it to sway people, because it's a pattern to this. It's a master plan. And if you didn't, a lot of the things that happen with these high profile cases is that when you put misinformation or bad information out about somebody in the media, that affects potential jurors for cases. So that's why it's called Black marketing. In the Sandra Bland case, they put her information out that she was arrested or something for something in her background. They made sure to put that out in the media so that would sway people in her court case or her criminal case. What happened, or tragedy would happen.
Right.
It was also done in the Trayvon Martin case. They put out misinformation about him, stating that he was a drug dealer or he was a part of a radical Black group. And that they're basically trying to say he deserved to be killed because of his background. And it's very, very strategic, and it has been working. And depending on who's in a jury pool, they can listen to that misinformation and take it as fact.
So who is they that puts this information out, this propaganda? Or
most of the times it's the law enforcement or the police departments.
Police department.
Most cases, yes.
Okay.
It's not in all the cases, but in most cases.
So it's not the prosecutor or
No.
those folks. It's the police department.
It's usually the police department. And let me give you the other side of it, Cedric. Say they have an officer that's in a high profile case, like let's say the Sandra Bland case, the officer that was involved with that. Well, at the same time, while they're putting out the information about the victim, they will scrap the officer's social media pages. They'll get rid of his Facebook page, they'll get rid of his LinkedIn page, they'll get rid of his Twitter accounts, make sure that you don't see anything that he's done. Mm-hmm. And so if people don't see anything that he's done, well, they will think that he's a good guy and he's incapable of doing anything wrong because you can't find anything about his social media. So that's basically the concept of Black marketing.
Okay. And you were sharing with me earlier that some of this is what happened with Bill Cosby.
Absolutely.
When he went through a situation.
Absolutely.
Share that.
He obviously didn't have a criminal background, but they could take, he had some lawsuits or some criminal cases, not criminal, some civil cases. Mm-hmm. And they could take some things from those cases and put out information at a strategic time. And it's almost like a smear campaign. And that is more common than we realize. Let me give you another example. You remember when the Black Panther movie came out? Well, there was some radical groups that said the Black Panther movie was a propaganda piece for the Black Panther Party, which was a bunch of nonsense. Well, the character for Black Panther that was created in Marvel Comics actually came out before the Black Panthers were formed. So when they don't want the movie to be successful, they are also putting out misinformation about the Black Panther movie. Said it was a lot of gunshots and violence at the movie theaters to dissuade people from going to see the movie Black Panther. So they were engaging in Black marketing tactics.
And it worked out anyway.
It worked out anyway.
It was the number one movie of the year.
It was the number one movie. Broke box office records. It was a historical movie with a Black cast that broke box office records. Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a break here. We're with Dr. D. Anthony Miles talking about racism. This is Press Play. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Cornell.
This is Terry. This is Rosemary with Frost Bank.
1, 6, or a dozen trees, no job is too big or too small. Booker's Tree Services is a certified arborist and state licensed company. On the ground or in the air, we are here to take care of all your tree needs, from stump grinding, tree pruning, tree trimming, tree removal, and much more. Call the professionals to help manage your commercial or residential needs. Don't let your trees make you nervous. Call for a free estimate today at Booker Tree Service, 210-657-8085.
One in 3 adults has prediabetes. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Because of you, I feel not alone in this world. And you let me know that it only takes one person to make you feel wanted.
One in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother. Yes. You, your football buddy, your football buddy. You, your plumber.
Breathe right into your foot.
Your plumber's masseuse.
Yes.
You, your dog walker, your cat jogger. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Does your life matter? Education, health, and finance can determine your future and explain your past. Pick up the latest edition of Black Life Texas Magazine, a monthly outlook on life with an African American focus. Life is what you make it, so live it in the black.
Nothing to do this week? Don't miss another event. Go to blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
Welcome back to Press Play. I'm Cedric Fisher, your host. And today we're talking with Dr. D. Anthony Miles. It's all about racism. Racism in marketing is a special work he's been doing over time. And we've been discussing African American men and marketing, a lot of the ways that they will use marketing, social media, media in general, against us, or to I guess defend law enforcement who have stepped out of bounds and done something that was unjustified. They'll use marketing against us. Historically, of course, we were always pictured as caricatures and buffoons and all this sort of stuff to make the larger majority of people think that we were low class, second class, inferior, and we just couldn't get anything done. But that's only changed and developed now into a more sophisticated type of imagery that they're doing for African American males, and we're talking about that. So go ahead and pick up where you left off before the break.
Oh, yes.
Any specific project you're working on in that regard, or
yes,
cases you want to talk about?
We're probably looking at expanding on that and some of the research that me and my research team are doing on black marketing. We just won an award for our research on weaponization of social media. And one of the things that we come to find out, which is a tactic of one of the black marketing devices, is to take social media and use it against the object. Find out anything that they've said in the past, cells in there to make them get into an engagement, into an argument with somebody on Twitter or somebody on social media. And it's a really, really sophisticated way of smearing somebody. And then you have the other part of it called reputation damage. If I can damage your reputation in 5 seconds, it's hard for you to rebuild your reputation. That could be rumors. That could be attributing images to you that are not really you. We live in a different world today. We live in a world where anything can be manipulated and anything can be compromised.
Okay.
And it's the same thing with the presidency. I could make you like a candidate or dislike a candidate based on my activity on social media and reputation damage or management.
Reputation, what you call it, reputation management damage.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting. So currently, with the current pending cases, we know George Floyd and some of the others. What is some of that happening right now?
Absolutely. In the George Floyd case, I don't know if this is true or this is just another misinformation or disinformation strategy. They said that he was involved in a pornographic film. And they're using that. See, you have to understand the nature of this. You got an offense, you got a defense. You got the prosecutor, you got the defense attorney. The defense attorney is going to look for anything in your background and exploit it against you. Now, another strategy, I've seen this with black marketing, is if you pretty much a clean guy like yourself, have a clean record, well, I'm going to find out something about your wife. I'm going to find out something about your kids. I'm going to find out something, it's anything that anybody that has bad baggage or in their background, I'm going to use it, I'm going to exploit it against you. And like you've heard that George Floyd had a criminal background.
Right.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away the fact that he was murdered on TV. But I'm going to make you as a consumer look at him differently based on that information.
Yeah, and they've certainly influenced some folks' opinion about it.
Absolutely.
Completely just, disassociating the fact that he was killed.
Yes.
1, and 2, he was unjustly killed by law enforcement.
Absolutely.
Now they want to look at it like he's a criminal, and maybe that justifies what happened to him. It's propaganda, and it's just...
Absolutely, and that by the same token, they're going to strip a good defense attorney that's working with the law enforcement is going to strip those 4 officers' social media pages, their Facebook pages, their Twitter pages. So by the time it gets to the jury or the trial,
Yeah.
you can't find nothing about any of those guys. So that means they didn't do anything. So they're going to be found not guilty. See, it's the long-term strategy to, yes, get over the euphoria of he was killed, but the long-term strategy is to make the officers look as good as possible in front of a jury. So when they engage in a black marketing strategy and tactics, I'm going to strip all of their social media pages so you're not able to find anything. And if there's nothing there, that means those guys were justified in doing what they did.
Yeah. So that comes under the title of marketing. Right?
Absolutely.
Because it's influencing, right? It's
absolutely
okay. It's changing thought and opinion, and
it changed the ability to change someone's opinion about something or someone based on misinformation or how strategically placed outside in the social media and the media. And it's also /PR. I can change your opinion about something if I keep putting negative images and imagery out there. And I know if you remember Cedric, you remember the O.J. Simpson trial, correct?
Can't forget that one. Absolutely.
Right. Well, to make him look sinister to white people, they actually darkened his image and his picture.
I remember that. Yeah.
And that all of these are psychological games that work on juries or work on people that sit on juries. And those are the type of things that they can do. They can manipulate your reputation and damage it within seconds. So it's up to you. You have to manage your reputation because there's a difference between your image and your identity. Your identity is what you have offline. Your image is what you have online, what people perceive about you. So you have to be very, very strategic in how you handle your image and identity.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I'm going to ask you this question, and it's kind of offline, but it's related.
Oh, please.
And I only ask you because I asked that we had this defense attorney on last week, highly accomplished, Cleo Marshall.
Yes.
In your opinion, given all the facts, everything we know, the racial marketing that's going on,
yes,
do you think these law enforcement officers have a chance of walking from these trial once they go to trial? Will they get off, or what do you think?
Based on a history, it's very hard to convict a police officer in a criminal trial. You're most likely to prevail, and Cleophas probably backed me up on this, they're most likely to prevail in a civil trial. I mean, I'm talking about from the position of the victims.
Okay.
It's very hard to convict a police officer in a criminal trial.
So even in a case like this, because you're right, we've seen stuff on video before.
Absolutely.
And seen them walk. So it could potentially happen again.
It could potentially happen again if they can pick the right jurors that don't believe that guy was murdered, that he was resisting arrest. It's getting so bad that they're trying to tell you what you see on video is not what you see. Now, I don't know if you remember the Sandra Bland case. When they finally released the video to the family's attorney, well, they actually altered the video because, remember, she was pulled over on the side, right? You know how you see cars driving by? Well, all of a sudden you see a car driving by, then the next clip, the car's not there. And that's what they do. They can manipulate the video and show the jury or the grand jury and manipulate the video to make the people think, well, he's not that bad a guy. And they can take our clips and manipulate it. And there's no law against that. Okay. Not at all. They do that all the time. One of the, my background as a legal expert witness, I've had to do that with advertising, with false advertising. And a lot of times, when someone's being deceptive, they can manipulate video. They can edit video strategically to make it look like you said what you said, or you did what you said you didn't do, or whatever. And they're trying to win. You have a good defense attorney, they're trying to win. Everybody's trying to win. It's not even about justice, it's about winning. How can I take what you have in your background and use it against you? So that's one of the facets or the downside of black marketing. You've seen the movie or the show, How to Get Away with Murder, the TV show. Well, what do you do when you don't have facts? You attack the victim. Let's see, you may have not committed the crime, or you were abused by the police officer, so you haven't done anything in your background. We're gonna look up your wife. Well, your wife did this, she was involved with some criminal activity, so I'm gonna exploit that and use that against you. And also, when the jury hears that about your wife, they say, well, he must be bad too, look at his wife.
Yeah.
So it's a very sophisticated and deceptive practice. I don't like what I'm seeing, and you're going to see this in the George Floyd case. You're going to see this in the Breonna Taylor case.
Right. Yeah.
They're going to do that. Now, let me tell you how black marketing worked against her. She didn't have anything bad in her background, right? Remember what I was saying? One of the strategies is if I don't have anything on you, I'll find something among the person next to you. Well, they want to find something about her boyfriend, and they're using that against her to say that shooting was justified.
Okay.
I mean, it's just despicable, but that's what they do. Yeah. It's despicable.
Yeah. Incredible. Very interesting. Okay. Thanks for that education. That information is interesting. Let's talk a little bit about your background again. So we have, or I guess I should say, I have the privilege of hosting this show on a weekly basis and meeting some of the real pioneers and movers and shakers. It's just important, incredible, highly accomplished people in our community, and you're one of them.
No,
what I have understood and discovered about highly accomplished, high-profile folks like yourself is typically they have a book that they refer to on a regular basis. They may read it once or twice a year, maybe every day, once a month. This book resides on their nightstand. So, Dr. Miles, what's on your nightstand?
Goodness, I'll probably give you 10 books. Let me give you the number one book I like. The book that I like the most, I would say, is The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki.
The Cash Flow Quadrant. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was helped me look at businesses differently. And basically, there are 4 types of businesses, and each one has a different objective. And I would say it was like a lightning bolt that hit me. The Cash Flow Quadrant was one of the best books that I read in the last 10, 15 years.
Now, how many times do you go and reread it again? Go back to
at least once every quarter.
Once every quarter?
Yeah, once every quarter.
Okay. Any other books that are on your nightstand? our viewing audience might want to hear about it?
Let's see.
Want to recommend?
Let's see. Let me give you one more. Well, I could say my book.
Your
That's
book?
cheating.
That's okay.
One of the books that I read while I was in school was I forgot the name of the lady. I think her name is Turner, and the book was about Kmart, why Kmart failed. I believe the book is called. Gonna have a senior moment. I think it's something. The title is "What Happened to Kmart." I think.
Okay.
And how a big company just did not see the emergence of Walmart, and Walmart went and changed the industry and made them no longer relevant. And I was fascinated by how that happened, and that happens all the time. And I can give you probably one more book. Goodness, I have so many.
It's okay. I'm the same way. I refer to several books.
I think when you read books, you take something from them, and they make a conglomeration of your thoughts. Goodness, I wish I had my list ready. I have so many books, but
no problem.
That was a book that really influenced me about what happened at Kmart.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, and of course, over the course of your lengthy academic life, you've read so many textbooks and and workbooks and just documents and everything. So I'm sure every now and again you have to pull one of those out for maybe a project that you're working on.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure. Okay. All right, we're going to take another break. This is Press Play. I'm your host, Cedric Fisher, with our special guest, Dr. D. Anthony Miles. We'll be right back.
Welcome to this week's edition of Black Video News. San Antonio native, 4-star General Charles Brown Jr., confirmed by Senate in a unanimous vote as the first Black Chief of Staff for the Air Force. Distinguished graduate of the Texas Tech ROTC program. Ava DuVernay, Whoopi Goldberg, and more elected to Motion Picture Academy Board of Governors. In other news, the governors have already made changes in the eligibility for the 2020 calendar to include streamers and VOD to compete. This week, NFL Commissioner Goodell encouraged teams to sign Colin Kaepernick. "We should have listened to our players earlier, including Kaepernick," said Goodell. Charles Butt, HEB chairman, announced a contribution of $1 million to the Prairie View A&M University in honor of University President Ruth Simmons' Center for Race and Justice. San Antonio Fire Chief Hood named National Fire Chief of the Year by the Metropolitan Fire Chief Association. Congratulations, Chief Hood. Don't forget the sacrifices of your ancestors. Celebrate Juneteenth today. Post your photos. Hashtag Juneteenth 2020. Do you know anybody who has passed during the COVID-19 crisis? Please email info@blackimpactsab.org with a photo and name so the community will remember your loved one. Do you have a business? Update your profile in blacksinsanantonio.com to let people know your hours of operation and contact information. Do it today. It's free. Remember our healthcare workers and frontline volunteers. Please continue your social distancing. Wash your hands and wear your masks outside your home environment. Stay tuned to blackvideonews.com for the latest news and announcements. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel for instant notifications. Because it matters to you, because it matters to us.
Welcome back to Press Play. I'm your host, Cedric Fisher. We're here today with special guest, Dr. D. Anthony Miles. We're talking about racism, marketing, the African-American male experience, and how all three of those intersect. Dr. Miles, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you,
So
Cedric.
let's get back on the topic of racism and most specifically police reform. And
Yes.
then we'll talk a little bit about defunding the police.
Absolutely.
Interesting topic. So unpack police reform and your thoughts and just opinion on it.
Sure. One of the things I want to reiterate that we were talking about earlier was if you're serious about reforming police departments, you're going to have a stronger punishment mechanism for these officers that commit these offenses. There's no reason for a person that's unarmed to be shot and killed. That we don't live in a wild, wild west. We live in a civilized society. That's uncivilized behavior. And one of the things is we have to understand what is law enforcement. That's a people's job, meaning how if I give you negative energy, I'm going to receive negative energy. If I come up to you and pull you over and say, give me your license, give me your insurance, and don't say a word. Well, how does the other person react when someone talks to them that way? Whatever energy that you give out, that's the energy that you're going to see from people. And if we're going to be serious about reform, we're going to have to reconceptualize policing. Do we need, another thing I want to say this, and this is a really, really interesting point. Why is it, if you look at the George Floyd case, why was it 5 to 6 police officers dealing with him? Is that not a waste of resources? Should 1 or 2 officers be able to handle that situation? Why do we need 6 officers showing up at the scene for a minor incident like that? Could that not be resolved with 2 officers? So 6 officers showing up on the scene, was that really necessary?
So I think there was originally 4 people in Floyd's car, maybe was the case. And,
yes.
For all the other officers that showed up, they called backup, I'm sure.
Exactly. And that leads to my point is I think police officers or police departments waste resources. We don't need 4 officers showing up for a minor incident or a crime. If that was a crime, if this even comes up to that, that's a petty crime. Do we really need 5 to 6 officers dealing with that situation? No.
Okay.
So the point I'm trying to make here is we need to look at how do police officers waste resources? How can we redirect those resources into other things? Should they not direct those activities to something else, a more serious crime, a guy robbing a bank, holding people hostages? We talking about a minor crime. That does not require 4 to 6 police officers on the scene. 1 or 2 officers at the most should have handled that situation. So if we're serious about reform, we're going to have to look at the resources of how we use police departments. We don't need 6 officers on the scene for a minor incident or a minor crime.
Okay. How about defunding the police? Does that make sense, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think in the context of defunding, that means not militarize the police departments. Unless you live on the border of Iraq or Afghanistan, why do you need a tank in your department? Why do you need military gear? Why do you need those things? Now, if you need those things as backup, if we have a national crisis, maybe so. But do we need those type of I'm going to call them resources? Does that justify having them because you can get them from the military? Do you really need them?
Yes.
So
military artillery, right?
Exactly. So we're serious about defunding. That means we don't need those things. We really don't. Most people obey the law. Is it people that commit crime? Yeah. But do you need riot gear? Do you need a body vest, a bulletproof vest? Do you need bulletproof kneecaps, those type of things? Most people obey the law. I guess if it's something that gets out of hand, I guess that's warranted. But part of the defunding, I think, process should be what are the things that they have and what are the things that they don't need, and we need to make sure they're not spending money for things that they don't need. Now, police departments should be getting digital. What I mean by that is, if I pull you over and I pull up your license plate and I pull up your face recognition, I should be able to know what crimes you committed in the past 5 or 10 years. So I make a decision before I get out of the car and how I'm going to treat you, and that's what a lot of them should do. But if we have digital capabilities, we should not have people shooting people for minor traffic violations. And one point I really want to make the audience know about this is we should not have police officers asking people to get out of the car. That is not needed for a minor traffic violation. Why are you making someone get out of the car?
Yeah.
That's where a lot of these shootings start, when they get out of the car. What if I tell you to get out of the car, you stand on the side of the car and you do like this? I could assume you're being aggressive and shoot you and kill you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But a lot of the police marketing that you spoke about earlier gives the impression that law enforcement is well trained to handle just about every situation. But a lot of the reform that you're talking about really happens in the recruitment of an officer and then the training of an officer.
Absolutely.
So a lot of the officers, for example, the reason maybe 5 or 6 of them showed up, and it's clear in their training, nobody knew what to do in that particular situation. But that's the way they were trained. Someone taught them that or trained them that way.
Absolutely. 4 or 5 officers to show up for a minor petty crime, if you want to call it that, is ridiculous.
Yeah, makes no sense. Okay, Dr. Miles, we've got 1 minute left here. How can any lasting or thoughts you want to share with the viewing audience, or how can we help you do what you do? How can we support you?
I appreciate it. Just, I guess, go to my website or email. Email me at dmiles@mdicorpventures.com. I got a lot of projects coming up in the future, and definitely like to share them with the audience. If you go to my website, we even say www anymore, mdicorpventures.com, and see what latest activities I'm involved with. I got 2 books coming out, and definitely like to share my information with your audience. And definitely we want to stay on top of this police reform issue. I think we're going to need a conglomeration of people that are going to lend their expertise to this matter. But it's not something that's going to be resolved overnight. We're going to have to definitely reconceptualize policing and law enforcement.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Cedric. I really appreciate it.
That's been Press Play for Juneteenth. We will see you next week with more special guests. Take care of yourselves. Again, be cautious and careful about COVID-19. And we appreciate you. You can find us at blackvideonewsnetwork.com or blackvideonews.com, I'm sorry. Black Video Network on YouTube. You can find this show. It's all one word, no spaces. I'm your host, Cedric Fisher. We'll see you back here next time.